Welcome to the lesson on operations on integers. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to multiply two or more integers and divide an integer by another integer.
Hi, I'm Captain Jack. Welcome to my submarine, the Alexander. I have named it after Alexander the Great. You know why? Because Alexander was the first person known to have descended into the sea in a vessel. A group of people have come with me today. They need to survey the deep ocean floor for new cable lines that need to be laid by their fuel company. My charts tell me that I can expect obstructions in this part of the sea. But I'm not worried, as I have my trustworthy sonar at hand. We are currently at 4,000 meters below sea level. What's that? Looks like there is an undersea mountain up ahead. I need to rise by around 500 meters to avoid it. The sonar works as my submarine's underwater ears and eyes.
Captain Jack has moved the submarine upwards by 500 meters. Can you guess at what depth the submarine is? It's now at minus 3,500 meters below sea level. Remember, when a positive and a negative integer are added, the sign of the sum is always the sign of the bigger number of the two, without considering their sign. Also, measures below sea level are represented by negative numbers. So, this is how we arrive at the new level of the submarine.
Undersea mountains and large fish like whales are a common occurrence. Oh look, the sonar is beeping again. It looks like we have a whale at hand. Let me move down.
Captain Jack moves the submarine 1,500 meters downwards from the current level of the submarine. At what level is the submarine now? As you know, both the negative integers need to be added to arrive at the current level of the submarine. You can see that this value is equal to minus 5,000 meters. Remember, when two negative integers are added, we get a negative integer. Now, what if you had subtracted minus 1,500 meters from minus 3,500 meters? In such a case, the final value would have been minus 2,000 meters. Subtraction is the opposite of addition, and therefore, we add the additive inverse of the integer that is being subtracted to the other integer. Let's see how these calculations are done on the number line. Consider a number, say 20 on the number line. Let's add a positive integer, say 10, to this number. The sum of two integers is 30. So, you can see that the point moves to the right of the positive side of the number line. In the same way, adding a negative integer, say minus 25 to 20, moves the point to the left or the negative side of the number line. Now, subtracting a positive integer, say 40 from 20, also moves the point to the negative side of the number line. And finally, subtracting a negative integer, say minus 40 from 20, moves the point to the positive side of the number line. Let's move on.
The sonar hasn't beeped for a while now, so that's been a relief. But do you know where we are now? We are currently moving over the Mariana Trench in the North Pacific Ocean. Did you know that the Mariana Trench is the deepest known point on the Earth? We are already really deep at 5,000 meters below sea level. But the Mariana Trench is still twice as deep into the Earth's crust.
How deep do you think the trench is? To calculate the depth of the trench, you need to multiply 2 with minus 5,000 meters. Let's try to understand the multiplication of a positive integer with a negative integer with the help of smaller numbers, say 3 and minus 2. Take a look at the number line given here. You can see that minus 2 plus minus 2 plus minus 2 equals minus 6. But this equation can also be written as shown. From both the equations, you can see that 3 multiplied with minus 2 equals minus 6. Let's now find the product of 3 and minus 2 without using the number line. For this, you just need to multiply the two numbers as whole numbers and place the minus sign in front of the result. So you have seen that a positive integer multiplied with a negative integer gives a negative integer. Let's mark this as result 1. But what if you multiply a negative integer by a positive integer? To understand this, let's take a look at the pattern followed. The pattern suggests that the product of a negative integer with a positive integer gives a negative integer. So for the multiplication of a negative integer with a positive integer, you just need to multiply the two integers as whole numbers and place the minus sign in front of the result. Here you can see that minus 3 into 2 equals minus 6. Let's mark this result as 2. So from the two results, you can see that while finding the product of a positive and a negative integer, you multiply them as whole numbers and place a negative sign before the result. So you get a negative integer. So in general, for any two positive integers, p and q, p multiplied with minus q is equal to minus of p multiplied with q, which is equal to minus p multiplied with q. So, going back to the depth of the Mariana Trench, we multiply 2 by minus 5,000 meters, which gives us minus 10,000 meters.
Did you know that the deepest point on the Mariana Trench and the Earth is called the Challenger Deep? It's at a depth of minus 10,911 meters. These are the latest findings. The ocean is truly a spectacular place.
We have seen the multiplication of a positive and a negative integer. Now, what if both the integers to be multiplied are negative? For example, consider minus 2 multiplied with minus 4. Let's follow a pattern and write the numbers as shown. From the pattern, you can see that the product of two negative integers is a positive integer. The two negative integers are multiplied as whole numbers and a positive sign is placed before the product. So in general, for any two positive integers, p and q, minus p multiplied with minus q is equal to p multiplied with q. Let's now find the product of three or more negative integers. Take a look at the examples given here. You have seen that the product of two negative integers is positive. And in these examples, you can see that the product of three negative integers is negative. That of 4 is positive. And that of 5 is again negative. So in general, you can say that if the number of negative integers in a product is even, then the product is a positive integer. And if the number of negative integers in a product is odd, then the product is a negative integer. Now, let's consider a special case where the numbers to be multiplied are all minus 1. Here, you can see that the product of an even number of minus 1s is plus 1, and that of an odd number of minus 1s is minus 1. Now, what result do you get if you multiply a negative integer, say minus 2 by 0? As you know, any whole number multiplied with 0 gives 0. Now, if you look at the pattern given here, you can see that any negative integer multiplied with 0 also gives 0. So in general, you can say that for any integer p multiplied with 0 is equal to 0 multiplied with p, which is equal to 0.
The survey for laying the cable lines is progressing really well. The team needs to conduct some more explorations in the deep sea and have requested me to move the submarine down by another 1,000 meters. We are now at minus 6,000 meters below sea level, and we have covered a distance of 1,000 meters in 100 minutes. So, the velocity or speed of the submarine was minus 10 meters per minute.
How did Captain Jack arrive at this value? Well, he divided minus 1,000 by 100. Here, did you notice the division of integers? Take a look at the example given here. You can see that minus 3 times minus 5 gives us 15, and 15 divided by minus 3 gives minus 5. So, the division of a positive integer by a negative integer results in a negative integer. Now, consider another example. Here again, the division of a negative integer by a positive integer results in a negative integer. In both these cases, the two integers are divided as whole numbers, and a minus sign is placed before the quotient or the resultant. So in general, for any two positive integers, p and q, p divided by minus q is equal to minus p divided by q, where q is not equal to 0. Now, observe the example of a negative integer getting divided by another negative integer. Here, minus 4 times 5 gives minus 20, and minus 20 divided by minus 4 gives 5. You can see that the division results in a positive integer. Here the two integers are divided as whole numbers, and a plus sign is placed before the quotient. So in general, for any two positive integers, p and q, minus p divided by minus q is equal to p divided by q, where q is not equal to 0. Also remember that for any integer p divided by 0 is not defined, and 0 divided by p is equal to 0, where p is not equal to 0. Let me also show you another interesting result. Take a look at the multiplication of two integers, 6 and 4. The product is 24. Now, you get 6 by dividing 24 by 4, and 4 by dividing 24 by 6. So, you get two division statements for each multiplication statement of whole numbers.
Well, it's been a long week down in the ocean, and the survey is also done. It's time to get back home.
Congratulations! You have successfully completed this lesson. In this lesson,